What if I told you that everything you've been taught about productivity is a lie? That chasing multiple goals at once is the very reason you feel stuck, overwhelmed, and burned out. In The One Thing, Gary Keller and Papasan reveal a truth so powerful, it can transform your work, your relationships, and even your health. The secret. Success doesn't come from doing more. It comes from focusing on less. Imagine if the chaos in your life could be replaced with clarity by asking just one question. What's the one thing that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? Stay tuned, because once you hear this, you'll never look at your priorities the same way again.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emma.
And I'm John.
And welcome to BookPodCastZone, ready to unpack some really incredible wisdom that could genuinely change how you approach, well, pretty much everything. Today, we're peeling back the layers of Gary Keller and Papasan's transformative book, The One Thing.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is, let's say, ambitious. We're going to extract the most potent nuggets of wisdom from this book, showing you how focusing on one crucial thing can revolutionize not just your professional output, but your entire personal life, too. We've got a stack of powerful insights lined up, and we'll be breaking down each chapter to give you a shortcut to being well-informed and hopefully deeply inspired to make some pretty significant shifts.
Exactly. We'll explore a core philosophy that honestly directly challenges the conventional wisdom of multitasking and those never-ending to-do lists.
Totally.
It offers a clear, almost radical path to achieve what truly matters. Expect some surprising facts, interesting historical connections, and really relevant examples from today's world.
Yeah, we've got some specific U.S. applications lined up, too.
Right. Including some very real-world U.S. applications. Get ready to shift your perspective on success and productivity because it's less about doing more and really much more about doing less, but doing it better.
So let's jump right into the first chapter, aptly titled The One Thing. And this chapter doesn't just set the stage. It feels like it throws a complete wrench into our usual understanding of how success is achieved. What's that truly counterintuitive revelation Keller and Papasan drop on us right out of the gate? The thing that challenges everything we thought we knew about productivity.
Well, you're right. It's kind of a bombshell. The core idea they present is this radical simplification, almost like a rebellion against just being busy for the sake of it.
Yeah, the busy trap.
Exactly. Keller and Papasan argue that our constant push for more tasks, more goals, more commitments is precisely what's holding us back. The real breakthrough, they insist, comes from a disciplined, almost defiant act of subtraction. It's about zeroing in on that single high-leverage action, that one thing, which, if you actually do it, would make everything else you need to do easier.
Or even unnecessary.
Or even entirely unnecessary. It's about finding the lever that moves the whole system, instead of trying to push every single cog at once.
Makes sense.
And they don't just state this as theory, they illustrate it really vividly with Gary Keller's own journey building Keller Williams Realty back in the early 2000s during a booming real estate market.
Right, when everyone was probably chasing everything.
Pretty much. Keller realized he was spread too thin and it was leading to just average results. So he stepped back, took a hard look, and identified his one thing: hiring top talent.
Not sales tactics.
Nope. Not initially. He didn't focus first on sales tactics or marketing campaigns or opening new offices. He focused intensely, laser-like, on getting the absolute right people in the right seats. And this singular focus wasn't just incremental. It literally skyrocketed his company's growth by an incredible 40% yearly.
40% yearly. Wow.
Yeah, it's a powerful, tangible example of how concentrated effort can yield just disproportionate results.
That growth rate is truly mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It really makes you question our default mode of just juggling everything.
Yeah.
But how does this concept, this really intense focus on one thing, how does that translate to today's world? Fast-paced, hyper-connected, digital distractions everywhere. It feels like singular focus is harder than ever.
That's a crucial point, absolutely, because in, 2025, our devices are constantly pinging us, our inboxes are overflowing, the pressure to be always on is just immense.
I get it.
Yet the authors suggest that modern tools can actually become our allies in this pursuit of focus. Think about it. Imagine an entrepreneur in, say, Nashville, Tennessee, running a boutique marketing agency, maybe. They might use an AI scheduler tools like Clockwise or Reclaim.ai are good examples not just to organize their meetings, but to actively block out dedicated, undisturbed time for their one thing.
Ah, so using the tech for focus, not against it.
Exactly. This one thing time might be for developing an innovative client acquisition strategy, or maybe engaging in deep creative work on a crucial client project that's going to define their agency's reputation.
Right, the really high leverage stuff.
Precisely. These tools can automatically decline non-essential meeting requests during these blocks, or even group minor tasks into specific times outside the focus block. This cuts through the noise of social media pings, endless emails, the pressure to respond instantly, allowing them to truly focus without interruption. It transforms that fight against distraction into like a structured victory. It proves that even now, in our hyper-connected era, narrowing your view intentionally and strategically is indeed the ultimate power move.
Okay, so for you listening, the message from this first chapter is incredibly clear. Instead of feeling perpetually overwhelmed by a never-ending to-do list, just take a step back. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do today that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? It's really about strategic simplification, cutting through all the complexity to find the single most impactful lever.
Absolutely. It's about transforming that chaos into clarity, making sure your efforts actually count where they matter most.
All right, that's a powerful start. If you're finding these insights valuable and you want more transformative content just like this, please take a quick moment to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and maybe share it with someone you know who needs a little more focus in their life. Your support really helps us bring more of these deep dives to you.
Definitely appreciate it. And now, let's move on to Chapter 2.
Okay, so we've identified our one thing. But how do you take that singular focus and actually make it build into something truly unstoppable? Not just for a day, but, for the long haul. That seems to be the secret revealed in our next chapter, the domino effect. And it's less about brute force, more about, well, elegant physics almost. What's the central insight Keller and Papasan are trying to convey here with this really powerful metaphor?
Well, the core insight here is incredibly compelling, I think. Success isn't usually a single giant leap, right? It's more often a carefully orchestrated sequence of small, smart actions.
Okay, a sequence.
Yeah, it's about identifying the first domino, that initial action that once you tip it, will effortlessly knock over others, creating this unstoppable, accelerating chain reaction.
And this isn't just like a nice idea.
No, not at all. It's not just an analogy. The authors draw from a fascinating 1983 physics breakthrough by Loren Whitehead. He scientifically proved that a single domino can, in fact, knock over another domino that's 50% larger than itself.
50% larger. Wow.
Yeah. So this isn't a linear progression where one domino knocks over an equal one. It's a geometric growth pattern.
Oh, okay. Exponential.
Exactly. Yeah. Exponential. Meaning tiny beginnings, when chosen strategically, can lead to massive impacts down the line. Now, this concept isn't entirely new, of course. It echoes ancient ideas like compound interest.
Like Benjamin Franklin talked about, right?
Precisely. Thinkers like Benjamin Franklin popularized it in the 18th century. He understood that small, consistent deposits, whether of money or, effort, could multiply exponentially over time.
Makes sense.
And Keller himself applied this directly in his business. His early singular focus on making that one key hire wasn't just about filling a position, it was the first domino.
Gotcha.
That specific hire set off a cascade. It led to a stronger team, which led to increased productivity, which attracted more talent, and ultimately it built the empire that Keller Williams Realty became. He didn't try to push all the dominoes at once. He carefully identified and tipped that critical first one.
That's such a powerful visualization. It really makes you reconsider where to put your initial energy. But let's be real, in today's world, finding that first domino, it can feel like finding a needle in a haystack sometimes. How can our listeners, maybe someone's an entrepreneur in their garage right now, how can they actually identify and then tip that first crucial domino to start their own chain reaction today?
That's a fantastic practical question. The key, I think, is to look for the action with the highest leverage, the thing that gives you the most bang for your buck, so to speak.
Oh, highest leverage.
Yeah. So consider a startup founder, maybe in Silicon Valley in 2025. Their one thing might be crafting a single, highly engaging viral post, maybe on TikTok or LinkedIn, specifically designed to showcase their innovative product.
Just one post.
Just one really strategic post. That post isn't just content, it's the potential first domino. If it catches fire, think about the chain reaction. It could spark a frenzy of investor interest, attract crucial early talent who see the vision, generate initial user adoption, which then drives further growth through word of mouth and network effects.
Right. One small action, potentially huge results.
Exactly. One small strategic piece of content can tip a massive chain of events. Or, let's take another example. Think of a local community organization in a small town, maybe in rural Kansas. They're focused on revitalizing their downtown area.
Okay, like saving Main Street.
Pretty much. Their one thing might be to secure a single grant for a specific, highly visible facade improvement project for one historic building right on Main Street.
Just one building.
Just one to start. That success, that first domino tipping, creates immediate, tangible momentum. It provides a blueprint for others. It inspires other building owners. It makes it easier to attract more grants because they've shown they can deliver.
Builds credibility.
Exactly. It draws new businesses eager to be part of a thriving area, and ultimately it helps revitalize the entire town square. It's about patience, consistency, starting small with a high leverage action, and then watching those initial efforts multiply into significant community transformation.
So for you listening, the key takeaway here is pretty profound. Don't underestimate the power of starting small, but doing it strategically. Identify that crucial first step, that initial domino, knowing its impact will ripple outwards in surprising and powerful ways. It's about taking the smallest smart action to trigger the biggest possible chain reaction.
Precisely. It's about building momentum through intentional, focused actions, understanding that the biggest results often begin with the smallest, smartest moves.
Love that. Okay, if you're finding this deep dive valuable and these ideas are clicking for you, remember to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone for more content like this, and share it with anyone who needs to understand the power of focused, sequential action.
Every bit helps. Okay, moving on.
All right, our next stop is Chapter 3, Success Leaves Clues. This chapter suggests that success isn't some mystical random event, but rather a discernible pattern, like there's a common thread among those who achieve great things. John, what common threads did Keller and Papasan find among these giants of industry and innovation? How did they distill this sort of blueprint for success?
Well, they really approach it like detectives here. They rigorously sleuth through countless success stories, different eras, different industries, looking for a consistent, undeniable pattern. And what they find, again and again, is singular focus.
Focus again. Keeps coming back.
It really does. They show that whether it's a driving passion, a specific person, or a standout product, zeroing in on one key element is often the secret ingredient, the clue to extraordinary achievement.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Think of iconic examples like KFC. Amid the booming, really competitive post-WWII fast food landscape, mid-20th century, Colonel Sanders' obsession wasn't with a huge, sprawling menu. No. His one thing was perfecting one specific chicken recipe, that iconic fried chicken. He didn't try to open a general restaurant first. He mastered his fried chicken, and that singular focus made KFC a global brand.
Wow. Okay. Just the chicken.
Just the chicken. Or think about Walt Disney. Back in the competitive 1920s animation scene, his one thing was undoubtedly storytelling through animation, epitomized by Mickey Mouse. He mastered animated storytelling before expanding into parks and everything else.
Right, started with the animation.
Exactly. And Bill Gates. In the chaotic 1970s tech dawn, Gates honed in on programming, partnering with Paul Allen to birth Microsoft. Their initial one thing was providing operating systems, initially for IBM. They recognized that controlling the underlying software would provide massive leverage down the road.
So they didn't try to do hardware and software and everything at once?
Nope. Focused on the OS first. These powerful illustrations really show how concentrated effort focused squarely on one key area leads to those breakthrough successes.
These are iconic examples, and they clearly show the power of that laser focus.
Yeah.
But how does this translate to achieving success now? In our modern landscapes, it often feels like you need to be good at everything, or at least have a really broad range of skills just to stand out. How do we find our clues in such a complex, interconnected environment today?
That's a vital question, isn't it? It gets to that tension between specialization versus generalization in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Well, in 2025, it's kind of akin to how today's top influencers build massive empires. They usually start by mastering one platform like TikTok or YouTube before they branch out.
Right, they don't start everywhere.
Exactly. They become the one thing expert in that particular space first. They conquer one domain, build an audience, build authority, then expand. They don't start by trying to be everywhere. They conquer one platform first.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or let's take a more localized U.S. example. Consider a chef, maybe in New Orleans, Louisiana. Instead of opening a restaurant with a huge, sprawling menu trying to please everyone.
Which sounds exhausting.
Right, their one thing might be perfecting one specific, highly authentic dish, say, a unique, generations-old family recipe for gumbo.
Just the gumbo again?
Just the gumbo.
Yeah.
By focusing intensely on that one offering, they gain renown, they draw food critics specifically for that dish, they create a strong brand identity, and that eventually allows for expansion into a full menu or maybe even a cookbook deal. But it's all built on that initial singular focus and mastery.
Okay.
Or think of a software developer up in Seattle. Instead of trying to be a generalist in all areas of AI development, maybe they focus exclusively on AI ethics.
Specific niche.
A very specific high-demand niche. This singular focus quickly leads to them being sought after for specific projects, speaking engagements, thought leadership within that niche, establishing them as the go-to expert. The authors deliver really insightful examples showing that focusing intensely creates these clues that anyone can follow to unlock their own breakthrough. It's really about deep mastery over broad mediocrity.
So for you listening, the takeaway is clear. Look at the giants in any field, and you'll often find a powerful, singular focus at their core. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, ask yourself, what's your unique chicken recipe? Your specific storytelling gift? Your platform mastery? Where can you apply a laser focus to create undeniable expertise?
It's about identifying your unique genius, your potential one thing, and then doubling down on it. Understanding that profound impact often comes from depth, not just breadth.
Great stuff. Okay, if you're finding this deep dive helpful and these ideas are sparking something for you, please like, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone who's looking for their own blueprint for success.
Always appreciated. All right, next chapter.
Chapter 4. Everything matters equally. That's a phrase or maybe a belief that so many of us live by, often to our own detriment. We stack our to-do lists, assuming every item carries the same weight, and it creates this sense of constant overwhelm, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
John Keller and Papasan really challenge this notion head-on, don't they? Revealing it as a fundamental misunderstanding of how productivity actually works.
They absolutely do, Emma. They directly confront the chaos and, frankly, the anxiety generated by these endless to-do lists. They trace this idea back to industrial-era efficiency myths that really took root in the 19th century.
Okay.
This belief that we must do it all and that every single task carries the same importance. It's deeply ingrained, but they argue it's a trap. It's a cognitive illusion that prevents real, meaningful progress.
So how do they suggest we break free?
They flip the script entirely by introducing the enduring power of the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle,
Right.
inspired by economist Alfredo Pareto's 1896 observations. He noticed, famously, that about 80% of Italy's land was owned by roughly 20% of the population. And Keller and Papasan show this principle applies almost universally. 80% of your desired results often come from just 20% of your efforts. But here's the kicker. They urge you to go beyond simply identifying that vital 20%.
Okay, so find the 20%. Then what?
Their powerful insight is to drill down even further within that 20%. Ask yourself, what is the one game changer within that 20% that will make the biggest possible difference? The single most important action.
The one thing within the vital few.
Exactly. Keller recounts how consciously ditching the busy work in his own business, all those tasks that felt urgent but weren't truly impactful, and instead focusing with laser precision on just a few high-impact moves, absolutely transformed his results. He stopped trying to make everything important and instead prioritized what truly, fundamentally mattered.
So the challenge isn't just to identify the important tasks, but to be ruthless, really, in prioritizing the most important one.
Yeah.
How do we apply this principle today, though? Especially with the constant flow of tasks, information demands from all sides, professionally, personally. It feels like everything is screaming for our attention all the time.
That's a critical question, isn't it? How do we actually be ruthless in prioritizing when the world constantly bombards us? Well, in 2025, it's kind of like using advanced project management apps. Think tools like Asana or Trello, often with integrated AI filtering capabilities now.
Right, the smart features.
Yeah. Using them not just to list tasks, but to intelligently filter out the noise and spotlight the truly vital priorities. Let's take a concrete U.S. example. Imagine a product development team at a tech company, maybe in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
They have a backlog of, say, 50 features requested for their app. Applying the 80-20 rule, they might realize that perhaps just 10 of those features will generate 80% of the user engagement and revenue.
Makes sense.
But then their one thing becomes developing just one of those top 10 features, the single feature that, if implemented successfully, would unlock a critical new market segment or solve the biggest pain point for their core users.
So they focus all their energy on that one feature.
Pretty much. They boldly say no, or at least not now, to the other 49 features, or they deprioritize them indefinitely. This transforms what could have been an overwhelming, paralyzing backlog into a clear, actionable success blueprint. It's about being deliberate and courageous enough to prune the unimportant, to allow the essential to flourish.
So for you listening, the message is to really challenge that underlying assumption that everything demands equal attention. Be brave enough to say no, or at least not now, to the vast majority of things so you can say an emphatic yes to the few that truly count. It's about empowering yourself to distinguish the merely urgent from the truly important.
Precisely. It's about intentional neglect of the unimportant to make room for the essential, a powerful act of strategic choice, really.
Love it. Okay, if you're rethinking your to-do list right now, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and maybe share it with a colleague or friend who might be caught in that trap of thinking everything matters equally.
Yeah, spread the word. All right, Chapter 5.
Chapter 5. Multitasking. Oh boy. This is often seen as a badge of honor, isn't it? I have to admit, I used to pride myself on how many tabs I could have open at once, how many chats I could manage.
Right. It's like a weird competition sometimes.
Totally. Then I read this chapter, and it was like looking in a mirror. I thought, oh, that's why I felt so frazzled all the time, and why my work quality was sometimes dipping. But Keller and Papasan, they call it out. They call it a sneaky thief of time.
What's the uncomfortable truth about multitasking that they reveal, really stripping away its glorified image?
Well, you're definitely not alone in feeling that way. Many of us fall into that trap. The authors just comprehensively dismantle the myth of multitasking. They expose it as fundamentally counterproductive.
Not just inefficient, but counterproductive.
Exactly. They show how it's been dangerously amplified and, frankly, misapplied because of our modern gadgets and constant digital distractions. Our brains. They're simply not designed to truly do two complex things simultaneously.
So what are we doing when we think we're multitasking? What we perceive as multitasking is actually rapid context switching. We're just jumping back and forth really fast.
Okay.
And they share these eye-opening scientific studies, mostly from the 2000s, that unequivocally reveal the staggering cost. This constant switching of tasks, jumping from one thing to another and back again, can waste up to 28% of your workday.
28%.
Yeah.
That's almost a third of the day.
Yeah, nearly a third of your productive time just lost to the mental ramp up and ramp down required between different activities.
Wow.
And this cognitive friction, it leads to numerous negative consequences. More errors creep in, reduced comprehension of what you're working on, decreased retention of information, and significantly increased stress and mental fatigue.
And I can feel that just hearing about it.
Right. They illustrate this with relatable consequences, like the slip-ups of a distracted driver missing an exit, or, a frazzled parent trying to work while managing kids simultaneously, leading to mistakes in both areas. Keller himself drew from his own early career blunders, where he tried to juggle too many initiatives at once, only to realize that undivided, focused attention was his true secret weapon for actually making progress.
That 28% figure is it's eye-opening. But for many people, the idea of just turning off notifications feels almost impossible, right? Like the world expects an instant response. What's a realistic first step for someone listening who feels genuinely trapped by the constant pings and demands in our 2025 world of remote work and hybrid models?
That's a very fair point. It absolutely feels impossible sometimes. The key, though, is to consciously create environments and habits that foster what you might call monotasking.
Monotasking. I like that.
Yeah, so consider a graphic designer, maybe working from home in Portland, Oregon. They might be trying to design a crucial new logo while also responding to client emails as they come in, checking social media, maybe listening to a podcast.
Sounds familiar.
Right. The authors would argue that by turning off all alerts, email, chat, social media, for a dedicated block of time, say 90 minutes.
Good, a defined block.
A defined block. And diving deep into that one design task, they will not only produce higher quality work, but they'll likely do it faster and with significantly less stress. It's about creating that monotasking environment where the brain can fully engage with a single problem without constantly being pulled away. Or think of a student in a bustling university library, maybe in New York City, trying to read a complex research paper while checking their phone every few minutes for social media updates. Their quality and speed will undoubtedly suffer compared to a student who intentionally silences their phone, maybe puts it in their bag, and commits to focused work blocks. True, impactful progress happens when you tackle one thing with laser focus, deliberately leaving the juggling act behind for good.
So for you listening, it's a clear call to action. Ditch the illusion of multitasking. Your brain simply isn't wired for it, and honestly, it's costing you dearly in efficiency, in quality, and probably in your peace of mind too. Instead, choose one thing, give it your full, undivided attention for a dedicated period, and just watch. Watch your efficiency, the quality of your output, and your sense of accomplishment soar.
Your brain will absolutely thank you for it. It craves that focused attention it was actually designed for.
Great point. If you're ready to reclaim your focus, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and maybe share it with a friend who you know is constantly juggling too many balls.
Help them out. Okay, Chapter 6.
Chapter 6. A disciplined life. Okay, that phrase can sound pretty daunting, can't it? It implies this endless grind, a constant battle against our natural inclinations. It often conjures images of rigorous self-denial. But John Keller and Papasan offer a remarkably refreshing perspective on discipline, don't they? They fundamentally alter how we should view it.
They absolutely reframe discipline, yeah.
Yeah.
They transform it from what feels like a lifelong sentence of struggle into a strategic, focused sprint designed to build habits.
A sprint, not a marathon.
Exactly. Their core insight is that discipline isn't about having perpetual willpower, which, as we'll discuss later, is a finite resource anyway. It's about applying concentrated effort for a specific, limited period to form a habit.
Okay.
Once that habit is formed, it takes significantly less conscious effort. It becomes almost automatic, like brushing your teeth.
Right. You don't need discipline to brush your teeth every day.
Precisely. And they specifically reference crucial 2009 research by Philippa Lally and her team. This study found that it takes about 66 days on average to make a new behavior stick.
66 days, not 21. I always heard 21.
Yeah, that 21-day myth is pretty pervasive, often traced back to cosmetic surgery observations from the 60s, not actual habit formation studies. Knowing it takes longer, around 36 days on average, can help manage expectations and encourage persistence when it feels tough.
Okay, 66 days. Good to know.
And they illustrate this beautifully with Olympian Michael Phelps. His incredibly rigorous routines back in the 2000s, they turned grueling training into second nature for him. His discipline wasn't just in the monumental effort itself, it was in the consistency of habit building that made that extraordinary performance possible over time.
So the routine became the driver.
Exactly. And Keller shares how he meticulously built specific habits within his own company, like regular focused planning sessions or time blocks for key activities to sustain growth without constant exhaustive pushes. These habits became the self-sustaining engine of his success.
So discipline isn't a life sentence. It's more like a temporary tool, a booster rocket, for creating lasting automatic habits. That's a truly liberating perspective, actually. How does this apply to our lives today, though? With all of the demands on our time and attention, how can we effectively implement these disciplined sprints to build the habits we need?
That's the practical question, right? What disciplined sprints do we need to implement, and how can we make them stick? Well, in 2025, technology can help again. Apps that track streaks, provide visual progress reports, accountability partners, they make it easier than ever.
Gamification, yeah.
Exactly. So consider a high school student athlete, maybe down in Florida, aspiring for a college scholarship in basketball. Their one thing might be to significantly improve their free throw percentage.
Okay, a specific skill.
Right. Instead of just randomly practicing whenever they feel like it, they commit to a disciplined 66-day sprint. 100 free throws every single morning before school, meticulously tracked for 66 days straight.
Every day for over 2 months.
Every day. This consistent, focused effort, fueled by that initial discipline, builds an unshakable habit. The muscle memory, the mental fortitude, it becomes second nature. And that significantly improves their game and, consequently, their scholarship chances.
Makes sense.
Or think of a recent college graduate, maybe starting a new, demanding job in Chicago. Their one thing might be to learn a new, high-value technical skill to accelerate their career. They commit to a 66-day sprint of 30 minutes of focused learning each morning before diving into work emails. That consistent habit building quickly propels their expertise. Discipline is just the spark, the initial ignition. Habits, once formed, keep the fire roaring for lasting wins.
So for you listening, think about that one important area in your life, whether it's professional growth, a personal skill, maybe a health goal, where you need to build a powerful habit. Commit to a disciplined sprint, aim for at least 66 days, applying consistent, focused effort. By doing so, you'll create lasting change that will continue to serve you long after that initial sprint is over.
It's about making success automatic, turning conscious effort into ingrained excellence.
Love that framing. Okay, if you're ready to build some powerful habits, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone who needs a new perspective on discipline.
Help them build those habits. All right, moving on to willpower.
Chapter 7. Willpower is always on will call. Okay, that title sounds pretty encouraging, doesn't it? Almost like willpower is this unlimited resource we can just tap into whenever we need a boost. But John, Keller, and Papasan actually dig into the limitations of willpower here, don't they? Revealing a more nuanced and frankly strategic understanding of this crucial mental resource.
Exactly, Emma. The title is a bit misleading if you take it at face value. They don't suggest willpower is limitless. Quite the opposite, actually. They explore its finite nature, comparing it vividly to a battery, like on your phone.
Okay, a battery.
Yeah. It starts fully charged at the beginning of the day, but it drains progressively, sometimes quite fast, throughout the day as we make decisions, resist temptations, exert self-control.
Every little choice takes a bit of power.
Every choice, every no you have to say, every sustained effort taps into this battery. And they hark back to classic research, specifically mentioning the famous 1960s marshmallow test at Stanford.
Oh yeah, the kids of the marshmallows.
Right. That powerfully demonstrated that self-control, or willpower, is a critical predictor of future success, but it's also an exhaustible resource. The kids who resisted longer had better outcomes later, but resisting was hard work.
So what's the strategic advice then, if it runs out?
Their key strategic advice, stemming directly from this understanding, is to hit your top task, your one thing, first thing in the morning.
Do the hardest thing first.
Exactly. When your willpower battery is fully charged, before the daily grind of decisions and distractions begins to sap your mental energy, they also emphasize fueling up properly with smart nutrition like proteins, things that provide sustained energy to maintain cognitive function and keep that battery charged longer.
Makes sense. Energy affects willpower.
Absolutely. Keller recalls countless mornings when his fresh, undiminished willpower, applied with singular focus to his most challenging one-thing task, turned significant business hurdles into triumphs. He understood that tackling the hardest, most important task early was paramount.
So willpower is this precious, finite resource that we need to understand and manage strategically, rather than just assuming it'll always be there for us when we need it most. How does this look in our busy 2025 lives, though? Demands often start the moment we wake up. How can we realistically protect and leverage this finite energy effectively?
That's the critical question. How do we best allocate our most valuable mental energy when the day feels like it attacks immediately? Well, in 2025, with sophisticated wellness trackers monitoring energy dips and demanding schedules, it's a timely reminder. The core principle is to front-load your day with your most important work.
Front load. Yep.
Yeah. So imagine a busy working parent, maybe in Denver, Colorado. Their one thing for the day might be to write a crucial, complex report that requires deep analytical thought.
Right. Needs serious brain power.
Exactly. Instead of letting emails or minor administrative tasks consume their morning energy, they make a conscious decision to tackle that report immediately after dropping their kids off at school. Maybe after enjoying a high-protein breakfast to fuel up.
Guard that morning time.
They guard that time fiercely, knowing their willpower is highest then. They complete the most challenging task before decision fatigue inevitably sets in. This contrasts sharply with trying to squeeze it in later in the afternoon, after a day full of meetings and putting out fires, when willpower is naturally depleted and mistakes are more likely. The authors provide a really energizing perspective, teaching you to treat willpower as this precious resource for your one big push, making sure it's deployed where it will have the most significant impact on your one thing.
So for you listening, the practical application is crystal clear. Identify your most important task for tomorrow, your absolute one thing, and commit to tackling it first thing in the morning when your willpower is at its peak. Fuel your body with smart nutrition and protect that precious energy block as if it were the most important, unmissable appointment of your day. Because it probably is.
It's about being strategic with your mental energy, maximizing its impact where it counts the most.
Such a good point. Okay, if you're ready to master your willpower, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone who needs to hear this empowering message.
Share the energy. All right, next up, balance. Or lack thereof.
Chapter 8, A Balanced Life. The dream, isn't it? That perfect equilibrium between work, family, health, hobbies, It's what everyone seems to strive for, yet it often feels like this completely unattainable ideal. But John, Keller, and Papasan suggest it might actually be a fairy tale, a myth that causes more stress than it actually solves. What do they really mean when they deconstruct this popular idea of a perfectly balanced life?
They really do. They boldly ditch the myth of perfect, static balance. They argue that striving for it is often a fool's errand, setting us up for failure and guilt.
So where did this idea even come from?
Well, they trace the concept of work-life balance back to the Industrial Revolution's push for regulated work limits in the 1800s,
Yeah.
trying to create boundaries between factory life and home life.
Okay, makes sense historically.
Right. But they argue that true magic, or extraordinary results, often sparks not in perfect equilibrium, but actually in periods of intentional imbalance.
Imbalance. That sounds counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? But instead of advocating for balance, they suggest counterbalancing.
Counterbalancing. Okay, what's the difference?
Counterbalancing means strategically and consciously going all in, intensely focusing on your top work priorities when necessary, while simultaneously fiercely protecting and scheduling your essential personal priorities.
Ah, so it's not equal time, but dedicated time for what matters in both spheres.
Exactly. It's not about giving equal time to everything all the time, but about giving enough dedicated, focused time to what absolutely matters most in both your professional and personal spheres, understanding that these priorities will likely shift and swing back and forth.
Like a pendulum.
Kind of, yeah. Keller openly shares his own periods of intense imbalance that directly fueled his business success, like the long, focused hours he dedicated to building his firm early on. He made conscious choices to push hard on work, knowing he would later need to deliberately reprioritize family time or health to counterbalance. It was a strategic give and take, not a constant, fragile balancing act.
That's a really powerful distinction, moving from the often paralyzing ideal of balance to the more realistic and strategic concept of counterbalancing. It acknowledges the dynamic nature of life much better. How does this apply to our lives today, especially with these fluid hybrid lifestyles where work and home are often completely intertwined?
That's the critical question. If perfect balance is a myth, how do we navigate these intentional periods of imbalance without just burning out completely?
Right.
Well, in 2025, hybrid lifestyles actually illustrate this counterbalancing in action quite beautifully sometimes. Think about an entrepreneur, maybe up in Seattle, Washington, launching a new tech startup.
Okay. High pressure situation.
Extremely high pressure. During that critical launch phase, their one thing is undoubtedly the business itself. It demands intense focus, long hours. They might work 12, 14-hour days for a few months straight.
Which sounds totally imbalanced.
It is imbalanced from a traditional perspective. However, they're not necessarily abandoning their personal life entirely. They're actively counterbalancing. They might rigidly block out every single Sunday afternoon for a hike in the breathtaking Pacific Northwest mountains with their family, making it non-negotiable. Or commit to a weekly date night that nothing can interfere with.
So protecting the personal must-haves.
Exactly. This intentional shift protects vital personal relationships and their own well-being, even amidst that intense professional imbalance. It's about embracing the swing, the purposeful movement between focused intensity in one area and dedicated attention in another, rather than striving for an unattainable static equilibrium that probably doesn't exist anyway.
So for you listening, the liberating message here is to let go of the guilt. Let go of the guilt of not being perfectly balanced across all areas of your life at all times. It's likely impossible. Instead, identify what you need to go all in on right now to achieve your one thing, and also identify what personal priorities you absolutely must fiercely protect, schedule, and dedicate focused time to. It's about conscious choices, not just reacting passively to demands.
It's about conscious choices, yeah. Not passively reacting to demands and understanding that extraordinary results often require extraordinary, albeit temporary, focus in one area.
Such a freeing concept. Okay, if you're ready to embrace the swing and ditch the balance guilt, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone who needs to hear this liberating perspective on life balance.
Let him off the hook? All right, Chapter 9.
Chapter 9. Big is bad.
Ooh, this one really resonates with a lot of people, I think. From childhood, maybe. We're often taught to be realistic, right? Not to dream too big, to manage expectations carefully. There's this ingrained fear that setting audacious goals will only lead to disappointment or looking foolish. But John, Keller, and Papasan completely smash this fear, don't they? They reveal it as a significant impediment to achieving anything truly extraordinary.
They absolutely do, Emma. They directly confront that common, often unconscious fear of audacious big goals. They argue, quite compellingly, that thinking small is often the bigger trap.
Thinking small is the trad. How so? Because it's a self-imposed limitation that pretty much guarantees only incremental, often uninspiring results. It keeps you playing in the shallow end. Conversely, thinking big, they posit, actually opens doors to massive rewards, not just in terms of the final outcomes, but in the opportunities, the creativity, and the personal growth it sparks along the way.
So it changes the journey itself.
Exactly. And they draw significant inspiration here from Carol Dweck's seminal 2006 mindset research.
Growth mindset versus fixed mindset.
Precisely. Distinguishing between growth thinkers who embrace challenges and see potential for development, and fixed thinkers who believe abilities are static. Thinking big aligns perfectly with a growth mindset, encouraging us to push past perceived limitations and lean into challenges.
And Keller lived this.
Absolutely. Keller himself profoundly embodied this with his audacious vision for his real estate giant amidst the turbulent 1980s market shifts. Instead of shrinking his aspirations or just playing it safe like many others were doing, he aimed for something truly grand. He believed in the transformative power of a moonshot goal to galvanize his team, attract talent, and drive innovation when others were retreating.
So dreaming big isn't just about raw ambition. It's fundamentally about adopting the right expansive mindset, a growth mindset that opens up entirely new possibilities. How does this manifest in today's rapidly changing world?
Yeah.
Especially with all the technological advancements and the sheer pace of innovation. Why is thinking big maybe more crucial now in 2025 than ever before?
That's a really important question. Why do we still allow ourselves to be held back by this fear of big? In 2025, it's kind of like observing innovators who are chasing genuine moonshot projects using advanced AI, maybe gene editing, fusion energy.
Huge world-changing stuff.
Right. Daring to solve problems that seemed utterly impossible just a few years ago. They aren't afraid of the immense scale, they're energized by it. The bigness of the goal attracts resources and talent.
Wow.
For a powerful U.S. example, maybe think a bit smaller scale, but still big thinking. Consider a small, perhaps struggling community college in rural Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Instead of just trying to maintain dwindling enrollment figures, their one thing might be to become the undisputed national leader in a highly specialized, cutting-edge field, like advanced manufacturing robotics training for a specific industry.
Wow, that's a big leap for a small college.
It's a huge leap. It requires an incredibly big vision, securing significant investment, recruiting top-tier faculty, building state-of-the-art labs, forging partnerships with major corporations. But by thinking this big and committing to this singular, ambitious goal, they can not only transform their institution, but potentially fundamentally reshape the economic prospects of their entire region, creating new high-paying jobs and attracting related investment. They achieve something extraordinary rather than just incrementally improving. The authors deliver a really inspiring boost here, proving that big thinking genuinely opens doors to massive rewards, showing that often the only real limits are the ones we place on ourselves.
So for you listening, the call to action is to challenge your limiting beliefs. Don't self-edit your aspirations before you even start. What's the biggest, boldest one thing you could pursue in your career, your personal life, your community impact? Don't let the fear of scale hold you back from achieving extraordinary, truly impactful results. Aim higher.
It's about expanding your possibilities, not shrinking them. Recognizing that true breakthroughs rarely come from playing it safe or thinking small.
Powerful stuff. Okay, if you're ready to dream bigger, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that big is definitely not bad.
Shout it from the rooftops. All right, Chapter 10. The core question.
Chapter 10, the focusing question. Okay, this feels like the absolute heart of the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
The core tool, the practical framework that Keller and Papasan equip us with. It's the mechanism for applying all the insights we've discussed so far. John, What is this powerhouse question, and why is it so incredibly transformative for individuals and organizations alike?
Yeah, this is really the engine of the whole system. They don't just talk about focus. They give you a direct, actionable mechanism to achieve it. They unveil their powerhouse question, designed to cut through all the clutter and deliver unparalleled clarity. What's the one thing I can do,
Okay.
such that by doing it,
So it's that by doing it.
everything else is easier or unnecessary?
What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary? Wow.
It's simple but profound, isn't it? This isn't just a simple query. It's a powerful filter for your attention and actions.
Where does it come from?
Well, this question is deeply rooted in essentialism ideas that really gained traction in the 2010s. You know, the philosophy emphasizing identifying the absolute essentials and ruthlessly eliminating everything else.
Right, Greg McKeown and others.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
beautifully simple, yet profoundly powerful because it forces you to think about leverage, about sequence, about ultimate impact. What's the linchpin? What's the first domino?
And you can use it anywhere.
Absolutely. They guide you to apply it everywhere.
Yeah.
In your work, your personal life, your relationships, your health goals. Keller himself applied this question relentlessly in scaling his business. He used it to clarify strategic decisions, identify key hires, refine marketing efforts, even prioritize his own daily tasks. He used it constantly to define what mattered most at every single level.
That question is just incredibly potent. It's both simple and deeply challenging at the same time, isn't it? How can our listeners start integrating it into their daily lives in a practical, repeatable way? Beyond just thinking about it abstractly, how do we make it a consistent tool we actually use?
That's the key question. How do we consistently use this powerful question to drive our actions and choices, transforming it from just a cool concept into a daily habit? Well, in 2025, modern technology can even lend a hand here. Imagine AI assistants or smart journaling apps that can be programmed to prompt you with this very question when you sit down to plan your day.
Like a daily reminder built in.
Exactly. But let's take a relatable U.S. example. Imagine a mid-career professional, maybe in Atlanta, Georgia, feeling utterly overwhelmed by their demanding workload and family commitments, a common scenario.
Very common.
Their one thing for improving things might be to simplify and streamline their chaotic morning routine. So they would specifically ask themselves, what's the one thing I can do in the morning, such that by doing it, everything else about my day is easier or unnecessary?
Okay, applying it to the morning chaos.
Right. And the answer might be something simple, like preparing their kids' lunches the night before. Or maybe it's spending a dedicated 15 minutes planning their top 3 work priorities before even opening their email inbox.
Avoiding the reactive email trap.
Exactly. This small, focused action, guided by the focusing question, can dramatically reduce morning chaos, alleviate stress, and set a productive, intentional tone for the entire day. The authors share dynamic tips for using this question effectively, turning vague goals into clear, actionable paths. It forces prioritization and thinking about leverage.
So for you listening, make this question your mantra. Don't just read it. Internalize it. Use it to filter every decision, every task, every goal, every challenge you face. Before you begin anything significant, ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do right now, such that by doing it, everything else related to this goal becomes easier or unnecessary.
It's about finding the critical path to impact, the single most powerful step you can possibly take next. Such a game changer. Okay, if you're ready to unlock unparalleled clarity in your life, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone you know who needs to discover the focusing question.
Share the clarity. All right, now how to make that question stick.
Chapter 11, the success habit. Okay, so it's not enough to just ask the focusing question once or twice when you remember. To truly reap its transformative power, the authors argue you need to make it an ingrained, automatic part of who you are and how you operate. John, how do Keller and Papasan help us take this powerful question and weave it into the very fabric of our daily lives, making it a consistent engine for achievement?
Yeah, they build directly on the power of the focusing question by emphasizing the crucial creation of routines that actually stick. They recognize that sporadic effort, no matter how brilliant or insightful, just isn't enough for sustained success. Consistent, deliberate application is the undeniable key to unlocking that compounding effect we talked about earlier.
Right. Consistency beats intensity over the long run. Exactly. They reinforce insights from habit formation science we touched on the 66 days earlier, highlighting that repetition is truly the mother of skill. Turning the focusing question into a regular, even daily practice is how it transforms from just a concept you read about into a powerful, almost automated tool for decision-making and effective action.
And Keller did this himself.
Absolutely. Keller's own daily rituals, which were centered around identifying his one thing each morning and planning his day around it, were the silent, consistent power source that fueled his empire's rise. It wasn't just a one-time strategic exercise for him. It was a deeply ingrained, consistent habit that shaped his actions day after day and drove his remarkable results.
So the focus in question becomes a daily ritual, a cornerstone of how we approach our work and our lives. But let's be honest, making new habits stick can be really challenging. How do we make this habit easy to adopt and maintain in 2025, especially with all the demands on our cognitive load? What practical strategies can our listeners employ to make asking this question automatic?
That's the critical question. What rituals and support systems can we build around the focusing question to ensure it becomes a sustainable habit, not just another good idea we forget? Well, as we mentioned, in 2025, technology like gamified apps, digital journaling tools, and automated reminders can certainly make it simpler to track and reinforce this habit.
Using tech as a habit trigger.
Precisely. But let's look at a compelling U.S. example that maybe doesn't rely solely on tech. Imagine a freelance writer, maybe living in Brooklyn, New York. Their one thing for maximizing their income and impact is to write their most challenging, high-value article first thing in the morning when their mind is freshest.
Okay, protecting that prime writing time.
Right. To make this a consistent habit, they establish a specific evening ritual. Every night before they stop working, they review their goals and specifically ask, what's the one thing I need to write tomorrow morning that will make everything else easier or unnecessary for hitting my weekly target?
Planning the night before.
Exactly. They write down the answer, maybe outline the first paragraph, set their workspace up for the morning, and then they go to bed knowing exactly what their priority is. The next day, they wake up, immediately tackle that one thing for a dedicated 90-minute block, and only then do they allow themselves to check emails or get pulled into social media.
That cycle sounds powerful.
It is. This daily ritual, this consistent loop of asking, planning, and acting builds incredible momentum and ensures consistent, meaningful progress on what matters most. The authors provide really motivational insights showing how this consistent habit unlocks consistent, compounding success over time. It's not magic, it's disciplined habit.
So for you listening, the challenge is clear. Don't let the focusing question be just a one-off thought you have occasionally. Make it a daily habit. Integrate it into your morning routine, your weekly planning sessions, maybe even before starting any significant new task or project. Consistency is the magic ingredient here.
It's about building a consistent engine for achievement, making focus your default operating mode, not something you have to force every time.
Excellent. Okay, if you're ready to make success a habit, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone who needs a daily dose of focus.
Let's build those focus muscles.
Yeah.
Okay, Chapter 12.
Chapter 12, The Path to Great Answers. All right, so it's not enough to just ask the right question, what's my one thing? You also need to find the best possible answer to that question. This chapter implies there's a journey involved in finding truly impactful solutions, not just settling for the first thing that pops into your head. John, how do Keller and Papasan guide us on this crucial journey from merely good, okay answers to truly great breakthrough solutions?
Yeah, this is a really important refinement. They don't advocate for just grabbing the first plausible solution that comes to mind when you ask the focusing question. Instead, they meticulously map out a journey, a process for moving from just okay or good answers to truly great ones.
So how do we do that?
They encourage you to go beyond the obvious conventional solutions. They urge you to actively explore benchmark models, looking at how others, maybe even in completely different fields, have solved similar problems successfully. They push you to challenge your own assumptions and even dare to embrace potentially wild, innovative approaches that might seem unconventional at first.
Don't just look at direct competitors.
Exactly. This commitment to finding the best answer, not just an adequate one, is what separates incremental improvement from truly transformative breakthroughs. They reference historical thinkers like Albert Einstein back in the early 1900s, who relentlessly pushed the boundaries of conventional thought. He demonstrated that truly great answers often come from questioning foundational assumptions and thinking radically outside the established box.
And Keller applied this too.
Oh, absolutely. Teller himself applied this rigorously to find real estate breakthroughs. When faced with a business challenge, he wouldn't just look at what his direct competitors were doing that often just leads to imitation and marginal gains. He'd actively seek out best practices from entirely different industries, or sometimes even invent completely new approaches to find a truly impactful, one thing solution that gave his company a distinct, sustainable advantage. It's about a relentless pursuit of excellence, not just in execution, but in the quality of the initial solution itself.
So it's about thoughtful inquiry, critical thinking, and expanding our scope of research far beyond the obvious or comfortable. This feels especially relevant in today's information-rich world, doesn't it? It's so easy to get lost in an echo chamber of conventional wisdom online. How can we effectively tap into this path to great answers for our own one-thing questions today?
That's a really important question. How do we find truly great answers, not just adequate ones that maintain the status quo in our current environment? Well, in 2025, tools like crowdsourcing via online communities, specialized forums, expert networks, they can significantly amplify this process. You can tap into the collective intelligence and diverse perspectives of experts literally all over the globe.
Using the network effect for ideas.
Precisely. Let's take a compelling U.S. example. Imagine a nonprofit organization, maybe based in San Francisco, California. Their one thing is to significantly increase donor engagement and retention, a common challenge.
Definitely.
Instead of just sending out more generic email blasts, they could decide to seek a great answer. They might look at benchmark models from highly successful e-commerce companies for their customer loyalty strategies, or maybe even study political campaigns for effective voter engagement and mobilization techniques.
Looking way outside their sector.
Exactly. They might also crowdsource innovative ideas from their passionate volunteer base, or even run small, agile A/B tests with some radical, wild approaches to communication or donor interaction. This broader, more adventurous search is much more likely to lead to a great answer, a truly innovative strategy that significantly boosts their impact and funding, rather than just a good answer that yields only marginal improvements. The authors offer an adventurous guide here, leading you to answers that truly soar, emphasizing that the quality of your answer directly determines the quality and magnitude of your results.
So for you listening, when you ask your focusing question, don't just settle for the first easiest, most obvious answer that comes to mind. Dig deeper. Look wider. Look outside your industry, outside your usual sources. Dare to innovate and experiment to find a truly great, leverage-filled solution for your one thing. Remember, the effort you put into finding the right answer will define the impact of your subsequent action.
It's about elevating your problem solving, pushing beyond the ordinary to discover the truly extraordinary solutions.
Fantastic. Okay, if you're ready to find some truly great answers, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone you know who's seeking breakthrough solutions.
Let's find those great answers. Now let's talk purpose.
Chapter 13. Live with Purpose. Okay, this takes our discussion beyond just productivity hacks and efficiency techniques and into the much deeper realm of meaning and fulfillment. It feels like a more profound, foundational layer to the whole one thing concept. John, how do Keller and Papasan connect our daily one thing to a deeper, more enduring sense of purpose? Why is this connection so vital?
Yeah, this chapter really elevates the conversation. They introduce the profound concept of life's GPS, which is essentially your underlying why, your core reason for being, for doing what you do.
Your personal North Star.
Exactly, your personal North Star. They stress the absolute importance of finding your ultimate, overarching purpose, arguing that when your daily one thing aligns directly with a deeper, more meaningful why, it unlocks an incredible, almost inexhaustible source of drive, resilience, and profound fulfillment.
So it's not just about getting things done, but getting the right things done for the right reasons.
Precisely. This connection transforms potentially mundane tasks into meaningful contributions towards something bigger than yourself. And they draw upon powerful historical context here, echoing Viktor Frankl's groundbreaking 1940s logotherapy.
From man's search for meaning.
Right. Developed amid the unimaginable hardships of WWII concentration camps. Frankl observed that those individuals who managed to find a why to live a purpose, a meaning, even in the most dire circumstances, were significantly more likely to survive and ultimately rebuild their lives. This illustrates that purpose isn't some luxury, it's a fundamental human need for resilience and motivation.
Wow.
And Keller shares how a clear, overarching purpose beyond just making money or building a big company fueled his relentless drive. It transformed his business endeavor into something with profound personal significance and a mission to empower others through real estate. This deeper why served as an unwavering compass, especially during tough times.
So purpose isn't a fluffy, abstract concept at all. It's a powerful, almost existential motivator that provides direction, fuels endurance, and ultimately leads to deeper satisfaction. How can our listener practically connect their daily one thing, that specific task they're focusing on, to their personal overarching why? Especially in today's world, where many people feel disconnected or adrift from a sense of purpose.
That's the crucial question, isn't it? How do we actively discover and then connect to our true purpose and then align our daily one thing with it? Well, in 2025, we're seeing a significant rise in purpose-driven careers, thriving people actively seeking work in fields like sustainability, social impact, community development.
Or the why is clearer.
Exactly, where the why is more front and center. Consider a recent graduate from a prestigious university, maybe in Washington, D.C. They might have multiple attractive, high-paying job offers. But their one thing for choosing their career path isn't just about salary or prestige.
They're looking deeper.
Right. Instead, they ask a much deeper focusing question. What's the one thing I can do with my career to contribute meaningfully to addressing climate change, such that by doing it, everything else about my career path is easier or unnecessary and deeply fulfilling?
Applying the question to purpose.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Very powerful. And this profound question leads them to choose a potentially more challenging, maybe lower paying initially, role at an innovative renewable energy startup out in California. By consciously aligning their daily one-thing tasks and their overall career trajectory with a deep personal and global purpose, they experience a level of profound fulfillment that mere financial success could likely never offer. The authors give heartfelt advice here, emphasizing that aligning your one thing with a deeper meaning provides not just external success, but lasting internal fulfillment and a clear, unwavering direction for all your efforts.
So for you listening, the invitation is to take some time for reflection. What are your core values? What truly drives you? What kind of impact do you want to make? What legacy do you want to build? And then ask, how does my current one thing, my most important daily task or immediate goal, contribute to my bigger why? If it doesn't, perhaps it's time to reevaluate your one thing and ensure it's truly serving your deepest purpose.
It's about living a life that truly matters to you, one intentional, purpose-aligned, one thing at a time.
Such important work. Okay, if you're ready to live with deeper purpose, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone you know who might be searching for their why.
Help them find that North Star. Okay, next chapter, linking purpose to priority.
Chapter 14. Live by priority. Okay, this chapter sounds like a natural, very practical extension of our discussion on purpose, but with a more concrete, actionable focus. It's one thing to know your purpose and priorities, but it's a whole other thing to truly live by them day in and day out. John, how do Keller and Papasan guide us to actually embed our priorities into our daily actions and decisions effectively?
Yeah, they make a very direct, undeniable connection between today's specific actions and tomorrow's grand goals. It's about closing the gap between intention and execution. They teach us how to meticulously link our immediate one-thing decisions, the things we choose to do right now, to our long-term vision, creating a kind of cascading priority system.
Cascading priorities. Tell me more.
It ensures consistent, meaningful progress towards what truly matters most in the long run. This approach, it isn't entirely new, of course. It's inspired by the evolution of time management techniques, especially since the 1950s, which moved beyond just listing tasks to actually prioritizing them based on importance and urgency, like the Eisenhower matrix.
Right, important versus urgent.
Exactly. But Keller takes it a step further with the one thing focus. His own prioritized planning was absolutely instrumental in building his success. He understood deeply that his daily choices and specific actions had to align step by step with his future aspirations. There had to be a clear through line.
So how did he do that specifically?
He developed this powerful hierarchical questioning process based on the focusing question. He would ask himself, basically, what's the one thing I can do today that will move me closer to my weekly goal?
Got it.
Which moves me closer to my monthly goal, which moves me closer to my annual goal,
Right.
which moves me closer to my big picture.
Wow, connecting the dots all the way out.
Exactly. This layered questioning ensures that every single action, even the small ones today, is a deliberate step on the path to a larger, purpose-driven objective. It prevents you from getting lost in daily urgencies that don't actually move the needle on your big goals.
So it's about creating this powerful cascading priority system, a clear lineage from today's small action all the way up to tomorrow's big achievement, ensuring every action contributes meaningfully to the bigger picture. How do we effectively implement this in our fast-paced digital lives in 2025? Urgent requests often seem to drown out those important long-term goals, don't they?
They absolutely do. That's the constant battle, urgent versus important. So the question is, how do we ensure our daily actions are truly aligned with our ultimate priorities? Well, in 2025, sophisticated digital calendars and planning apps can make this much more seamless. They allow you to not just list tasks, but to actually visualize and schedule your one thing with crystal clarity, often linking tasks directly to larger goals.
Using the tech to keep the long-term visible.
Exactly. Let's take a compelling U.S. example. Consider a city planner, maybe working in Austin, Texas, a fast-growing city with lots of demands. They have multiple complex urban development projects on their plate simultaneously. Using this framework, their one thing for the next quarter might be identified as securing the crucial permits and initial funding for a major new public transportation initiative, one that, if successful, will drastically reduce traffic congestion and carbon emissions long-term.
A high-leverage long-term project.
Precisely. So they prioritize this project above almost all others for that quarter. They allocate significant resources, they schedule critical meetings with key stakeholders, they structure their entire team's activities around this singular focus. They understand that by doing this specific one thing now, they are creating a positive ripple effect that will make future urban development easier, more sustainable, and dramatically improve the quality of life for residents for years to come. The authors provide really clear strategies for setting these cascading priorities, ensuring your daily one thing consistently leads to your long-term wins, helping you live life by design, not by default.
So for you listening, take a moment right now, or maybe later today, look at your biggest, most important long-term goals, your 5-year goal, maybe even your ultimate life purpose. Then, work backward meticulously. What's the one thing you absolutely must achieve this year to be on track, then this month, then this week? And most importantly, what is the one thing you can do today that will make everything else easier or unnecessary for achieving that big, purposeful goal? Connect those dots.
It's about building a robust, intentional bridge from where you are right now to exactly where you want to be in the future, one step at a time.
Such a practical framework. Okay, if you're ready to live by your true priorities, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share with someone who needs help connecting their daily actions to their biggest dreams.
Help them build that bridge. All right, next, getting it done.
Chapter 15. Live for productivity. Okay, this chapter feels like the real practical playbook, doesn't it? Moving from what to prioritize and why to how we actually get our one thing done consistently. Many of us, I think, equate productivity with simply being busy, checking off lots of small items. John, how do Keller and Papasan redefine productivity for us here, shifting the focus squarely onto meaningful results rather than just activity?
Yeah, this is where the rubber really meets the road. They don't advocate for simply putting in more hours or increasing frantic activity that's the path to burnout. Instead, they advocate for more focused hours.
Quality over quantity of time.
Precisely. They fundamentally reimagine productivity around executing your one thing, and they emphasize time blocking as the ultimate non-negotiable method to protect and then execute on your most important task.
Time blocking. We hear that term a lot. What's their specific take on it?
That take is that it's not just about scheduling, it's about making a deliberate, unbreakable appointment with your one thing that you treat as absolutely sacred. You defend that time block rigorously. They draw inspiration from established techniques like the Pomodoro technique, which emerged back in the 1980s.
Right, the timer method.
Yeah, advocating for focused work intervals followed by short breaks. The core idea shared by all these methods is dedicated, uninterrupted time for deep work. Keller consistently blocked out significant chunks of hours in his own calendar, specifically for his designated one-thing tasks. He didn't just passively put them on a to-do list. He literally, sometimes physically, drew a red box around those hours in his schedule.
Like a visual commitment.
Exactly. Treating this time as non-negotiable and defending it fiercely against all distractions, interruptions, and requests. He understood deeply that these protected hours were the ones that truly moved the needle in his business, not the hours spent reacting to emails or attending less critical meetings.
So productivity isn't about being busy or doing more things. It's about strategically scheduling and then rigorously protecting the time allocated for your highest priorities. How can we effectively implement this time blocking in 2025, though? Amidst constant demands, unexpected emergencies popping up, and this pervasive culture of needing to be immediately responsive. Seems like a constant battle to protect that time.
It absolutely is a battle, you're right. So the question becomes, how do we protect our most productive time for our one thing when the world constantly tries to pull us in a million different directions? Well, in 2025, AI tools can even help optimize these blocks, suggesting ideal times based on your personal productivity patterns, your calendar availability, your energy levels throughout the day.
Smart scheduling assistance.
Yeah. But let's take a powerful US example, maybe low tech. Imagine a software engineer working in, say, San Jose, California. Their one thing for the day might be to fix a critical complex bug in a core piece of the software code.
High focus task.
Very high focus. They would deliberately time block 2-3 hours in their morning calendar specifically for this task, perhaps from 9:00 p.m. During this block, crucially, they would turn off email notifications, silence their chat apps, close all unnecessary browser tabs, maybe put on noise-canceling headphones.
Creating a fortress of focus.
Exactly. They treat this block like a crucial, unmissable meeting. They absolutely cannot reschedule a meeting with their most important work. This ensures deep, uninterrupted focus on their one thing. This structured, deliberate approach allows them to achieve in a few highly concentrated hours what might otherwise take a full, scattered, inefficient, and frustrating day. The authors share really energizing methods here, effectively turning your calendar from just a reactive schedule of appointments into your most powerful, proactive ally for getting your one thing done consistently and effectively.
So for you listening, the challenge is, look at your calendar for tomorrow, right now if you can. Proactively block out a specific chunk of time, ideally in the morning when your willpower is highest, for your one thing. Then treat that block as absolutely non-negotiable. Defend it fiercely from everything else. That protected time is where your real progress will happen.
It's about being deliberate and strategic with your most valuable, non-renewable asset, your time, making absolutely sure it serves your highest priorities first.
Such a critical discipline. Okay, if you're ready to revolutionize your productivity and actually get your one thing done, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone who needs to master their time.
Help them block that time. Okay, 3 more key ideas.
Chapter 16. The 3 commitments. Okay, this sounds foundational, like the unshakable bedrock principles required for achieving extraordinary success with your one thing. It implies that beyond just using the techniques like the focusing question or time blocking, certain underlying mindsets and actions are absolutely essential. John, what are these 3 crucial commitments that Keller and Papasan identify as non-negotiable for anyone serious about pursuing their one thing?
Yeah, this chapter really outlines the essential mindset and the core actions required for sustained extraordinary success. These aren't just nice suggestions. They present them as core foundational principles for anyone truly serious about achieving big goals with focus.
Okay, what's the first one?
Commitment 1, mastering models. This means actively seeking out and learning from proven strategies, systems, and frameworks developed by those who have already achieved what you aspire to achieve. Don't waste precious time and energy trying to reinvent the wheel. Learn from the best who have gone before you.
Stand on the shoulders of giants.
Exactly. Commitment 2, seeking greatness. This goes far beyond just aiming for competence or being good enough. It's an unrelenting pursuit of excellence, constantly pushing beyond your current comfort zone and always striving for the best possible outcome specifically for your one thing. It's about mastery.
Never settling for mediocrity.
Precisely. And commitment 3, accountability. This is about taking full, radical responsibility for your actions, your choices, and ultimately your results. It often involves, practically speaking, having an accountability partner, a coach, or joining a mastermind group to keep you on track and challenge you. This is rooted in long-standing coaching and performance traditions.
Models, greatness, accountability, MGA.
MGA, exactly. And Keller's own deep commitments to these 3 principles were absolutely instrumental in scaling his firm to the massive success it became. He didn't just apply them personally, he actively built a culture of learning from models, striving for greatness, and fostering mutual accountability among his teams. It was baked into the company DNA.
These are incredibly powerful commitments, and together they really do create a robust framework for sustained success. How can our listener practically integrate these 3 commitments? Mastering models, seeking greatness, accountability into their pursuit of their one thing in today's environment. Learning resources are abundant but also overwhelming, and finding genuine accountability can sometimes feel elusive, right?
That's a really important question. How do we embody these commitments in a practical, sustainable sense today? Well, the good news is, in 2025, things like virtual mentors, targeted online masterminds, specialized digital coaching platforms, they significantly enhance our ability to find relevant models,
Mhm.
connect with communities striving for greatness, and maintain structured accountability.
So the tools are there if we look.
The tools are definitely there. Let's take a vivid U.S. example. Consider a chef, maybe down in Charleston, South Carolina, a great food city. They dream of opening a critically acclaimed farm-to-table restaurant. That's their big one thing.
Oh.
So, for mastering models, they might commit to deeply studying the operational models of several specific Michelin-starred restaurants, even if they're in different cities or countries. Learning from their sourcing practices, their menu design philosophy, their kitchen management system.
Deconstructing success.
Exactly. For seeking greatness. Their focused one thing for the next year might be perfecting one single signature dish to an absolutely unparalleled level of excellence, constantly refining it through feedback, sourcing the absolute best ingredients, experimenting with technique, rather than trying to create an entire mediocre menu all at once.
Extreme focus on one element of greatness.
Right. And for accountability, they might join a small, dedicated peer group of other aspiring local restaurateurs. They meet weekly, maybe even just online, to share progress, report on metrics, discuss challenges, and hold each other accountable for hitting their specific one-thing goals for the week or month. The authors deliver really empowering steps here, showing how these commitments build unshakable drive and ensure that your journey towards your one thing is supported by a robust, reinforcing framework.
So for you listening, the challenge is to honestly ask yourself, am I actively seeking out and learning from the best models and mentors relevant to my one thing? Am I relentlessly pursuing excellence in this specific area, pushing beyond good enough? And crucially, do I have a system or a person in place to hold me accountable, to ensure I follow through on my intentions?
It's about creating an unbreakable chain of success where learning, striving for excellence, and taking responsibility continuously fuel each other forward.
Really powerful framework. Okay, you ready to make these 3 crucial commitments? Make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to Book Podcast Zone, and share it with someone who's ready to build an unshakable foundation for their own success.
Let's build that foundation. Now let's talk about what can tear it down.
Chapter 17. The Four Thieves. Ooh, this sounds like a serious warning, almost like there are specific saboteurs lurking in the shadows, just waiting to derail our focus on our one thing. John, what are these 4 crucial pitfalls that Keller and Papasan warn us about? These silent assassins that can steal our focus, our energy, and ultimately our ability to achieve our most important goals.
Yeah, this chapter is all about recognizing the enemies of focus. They expose the common, often insidious pitfalls that can creep in and steal our focus, drain our energy, and ultimately sabotage our ability to execute on our one thing. Being acutely aware of these thieves, they argue, is the critical first step to effectively guarding against them.
Forewarned is forearmed. Okay, who's thief number 1?
Thief 1, the inability to say no. This is huge. It's that pervasive tendency we have to agree to tasks, requests, meetings, opportunities that don't actually align with our current one thing, often simply out of a desire to please others or avoid potential conflict.
The disease to please. Very common. Okay, thief 2.
Thief 2, fear of chaos. This is the discomfort, sometimes intense anxiety many of us feel with a slightly messy desk, an overflowing inbox, or an unconventional path that might inevitably arise when you rigorously prioritize your one thing and consciously let other, less important things slide for a while.
Right. You can't keep all the plates spinning perfectly if you're truly focused. Okay, 3.
Thief 3, poor health habits. This one is critical and often underestimated. It encompasses lack of sufficient sleep, poor nutrition choices, and insufficient exercise or movement. All of these directly deplete the finite willpower and physical energy needed for sustained, focused work. They even give historical nods here to burnout becoming recognized during the industrial age. It's a persistent problem amplified today.
Neglecting the fundamentals catches up to you. And the last one.
Thief 4, an unsupportive environment. This refers to the people, the physical places, or even the digital spaces around you that actively detract from your focus rather than supporting your pursuit of your one thing. It could be unsupportive colleagues, a distracting home office setup, or constant negative news feeds.
Okay, saying no, fear, chaos, poor health, unsupportive environment. Those are big ones.
They are, and Keller himself learned often the hard way, to identify and proactively overcome these thieves in his own journey. He recognized that protecting his focus wasn't a passive activity. It meant actively, consciously fending off these common pitfalls every single day.
These are incredibly relatable challenges. I bet almost everyone listening can identify with at least one, if not all four, of these thieves showing up in their lives regularly. How can we practically protect ourselves from these thieves in our day-to-day lives in 2025? Demands on our time and attention are at an all-time high. Boundaries are often blurred. How do we build defenses?
That's the key question. How do we actively safeguard our focus and energy from these relentless thieves? Well, again, in 2025, things like wellness tech, productivity apps designed for focus, digital boundary setting tools, they can all help us fight back strategically.
Using tools to build defenses.
Right. Let's take a practical U.S. example. Consider a small business owner, maybe in rural Ohio. Their one thing for the current quarter is to successfully launch a new critical online sales platform for their business.
Okay, make or break project.
Potentially. So to combat the inability to say no, they might need to learn to politely but firmly decline requests from local community groups for volunteer time that, while worthy, doesn't directly align with getting this crucial platform launched on time.
Protecting their core priority.
Exactly. To address the fear of chaos, they might need to consciously accept that their office will be a bit messier than usual, or some less critical administrative tasks might get delayed in favor of dedicating intense focus to the platform launch, giving themselves permission for temporary chaos in other areas.
Embracing constructive messiness.
Kind of, yeah. To counteract poor health habits, they proactively schedule, say, an hour for exercise each morning before work and make a commitment to get adequate sleep, maybe even using a fitness tracker to monitor their sleep quality and recovery, fueling the engine.
Non-negotiable self-care.
Right. And to mitigate an unsupportive environment, they might create a dedicated, deep workspace in their office or home, free from interruptions. They might even need to have an explicit conversation with family members or their team about respecting and protecting their focused work blocks, setting clear boundaries.
Proactive defense on all fronts.
Exactly. The authors offer really practical protective tactics, helping you safeguard your focus and ensuring these common, predictable obstacles don't derail your most important work.
So, for you listening, the challenge is to honestly identify which of these four thieves, inability to say no, fear of chaos, poor health habits, or an unsupportive environment, is most prevalent and damaging in your life right now. Then, develop a clear, proactive strategy to combat it. Build a defense around your focus on your one thing, because protecting that focus is absolutely paramount to achieving extraordinary results.
It's about building a fortress around your priorities, ensuring your one thing has the protected space and the sustained energy it needs to thrive.
Excellent advice. Okay, if you're ready to banish these thieves from your life and guard your focus, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone, and share it with someone who needs to protect their one thing.
Guard that focus. All right, the final chapter.
We've reached the final chapter. Chapter 18, The Journey. This sounds like a reflection, maybe, and a powerful call to action to keep applying these transformative principles long-term. It acknowledges that this isn't just a one-time fix, but really an ongoing way of living and working. John, what's the ultimate message Keller and Papasan leave us with as we conclude this deep dive into their powerful ideas?
Yeah, this chapter really wraps up the whole adventure by emphasizing that finding and focusing on your one thing isn't a destination you arrive at and then you're done. It's an ongoing, dynamic process.
It never really ends.
Exactly. They encourage action over waiting for perfection, recognizing that continuous learning, adaptation, and iterative progress are absolutely key to long-term success and fulfillment. You don't have to have it all figured out to start. They're clearly inspired by icons of lifelong learning, suggesting that the pursuit of your one thing is an iterative process, not a single one-time event.
So you'll have different one things over time.
Absolutely. You'll continually discover new one things as you achieve previous ones, as your circumstances inevitably evolve, as your skills grow, and as your aspirations naturally expand. Keller's own ongoing journey, marked by continuous learning, evolution, and the relentless reapplication of these principles throughout his career, serves as a powerful inspiration. He didn't just arrive at success and stop. He continually refined his one things, adapted to massive market changes, and kept growing and pushing himself.
So it's about embracing the process, being flexible, maybe even enjoying the evolution along the way, rather than clinging rigidly to a single unchanging plan or definition of your one thing. How does this final message resonate particularly strongly in our rapidly changing world of 2025? New challenges, new technologies, new opportunities emerge constantly. It feels like adaptation is the name of the game now.
That's a really important question. How do we maintain this focused one thing mindset while remaining adaptable as our goals, our circumstances, and the entire world around us constantly change? Well, in 2025, it's really all about evolving with that change, consistently reassessing your one thing in light of new information, emerging opportunities, shifting priorities. The framework itself encourages agility, not rigidity.
It's a dynamic focusing tool.
Exactly. Let's take a heartwarming U.S. example. Consider a retiree, maybe living down in Phoenix, Arizona. They decide their one thing for this phase of life is to learn a new skill, like coding, with the specific goal of developing a useful app for their local community center.
Okay, a purposeful project.
Right. The journey for them isn't about becoming a perfect, flawless software engineer overnight. It's about the daily commitment to their current one thing, eventually spending an hour working through an online coding lesson. It's about accepting failures or bugs as valuable learning opportunities, not reasons to quit. And it's about continuously adapting their approach and maybe even the app's features as they learn more and get feedback. It's about the joy of discovery and application rather than stressing about flawless, immediate execution. The one thing framework simply helps them stay focused on that singular learning goal amidst all the other priorities and possibilities of retirement life. The authors end the book with really uplifting encouragement, urging you to live your one thing boldly, consistently, and with an open, curious mind, understanding that the journey itself, the process of focused growth, contribution, and impact, is often the greatest reward.
So for you listening, the final message is to remember that finding and focusing on your one thing is a continuous journey, not a single destination. Embrace the process. Don't strive for an impossible perfection that leads to paralysis. Always be open to discovering new one things that will propel you forward as you grow, learn, and your life unfolds.
It's about a lifetime of extraordinary living, achieve one intentional, focused one thing at a time, continuously building on itself.
What a powerful note to end on. If you've enjoyed this incredible deep dive through all these chapters, make sure to like this deep dive, subscribe to Book Podcast Zone for more like it, and share it with anyone who's ready to embark on their own transformative journey.
We truly hope this has provided you with immense value and some actionable insights.
Wow, what an incredible journey that was through The One Thing by Gary Keller and Papasan. We've explored so much. Everything from the radical power of singular focus to the elegant physics of the domino effect, showing how small strategic actions can lead to massive results. We've dismantled the pervasive myth of multitasking and discovered that true balance isn't some static state we achieve, but a dynamic process of consciously counterbalancing our priorities.
Indeed. We've truly seen how identifying your one thing, consistently asking that powerful focusing question, building robust success habits like time blocking and the 3 commitments, and anchoring it all to a life of purpose and priority, how that can genuinely transform your results and your life.
Yeah.
And we also learned how to strategically guard against those common thieves, like the inability to say no or the fear of chaos that constantly tried to derail us from our most important work.
This deep dive has profoundly shown us, I think, that success isn't really about doing more, piling on more tasks, or striving for some unattainable ideal of constant busyness. It's actually about doing less, but doing that less. Far, far better. It's about finding that single most important thing that if you achieve it, truly makes everything else easier, or perhaps entirely unnecessary.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it reminds us that clarity, profound achievement, and lasting fulfillment often come not from adding more complexity to our lives, but from bravely and strategically subtracting the non-essential. It's a powerful act of simplification in an increasingly complex world.
So here's a final provocative thought for you to mull over as we wrap up. If you truly commit to asking, what's my one thing? Every single day for the next year, with unwavering discipline and a real commitment to taking action on the answer, what seemingly impossible accomplishment could become not just possible, but perhaps even inevitable? What profound transformation could occur in your personal life, in your career, and maybe even in the lives of those around you, simply by embracing this singular, focused approach day after day?
We really encourage you to reflect deeply on that question, and perhaps even take the very first step towards discovering and acting on your own one thing, maybe even today.
Thank you so much for joining us on Book Podcast Zone for this deep dive into the one thing. We sincerely hope you found it insightful and inspiring, and that it empowers you to simplify your path to achieving extraordinary results in whatever matters most to you.
Until next time, keep asking that powerful question.